Right, hello everyone. Well, I thought I'd leave that slightly dramatic beginning, more like a James Bond movie film, isn't it, when you first hear that music? You just love it. And back in the Mini-500, been playing around with it no end the last few days, and I absolutely love it. I thought this time we'd take it to London. It's going to push the graphics a bit, and I did have a couple of times that it actually froze this time on me for the first time in a long while. Don't know if that's the new X-Plane or not, or whether I'm just pushing the limits altogether. But here you can see I've been flying the 412, the AB 412, and a number of larger helicopters recently, and suddenly jumping back in this, trims were all over the place. So I only had a very short while to do this video, and you have to apologise while I'm trimming it out as we're actually doing the video, because this little 500, when you trim it for hover, is really quite stable. It's not a bad helicopter at all. It's not one I would advise for a beginner, because the bigger helicopters, size of the rotor disc, everything else, their mass, they're much easier to fly. This really is for somebody who's been flying helicopters for a while but wants I'm going to say a bit of a buzz or a bit of enjoyment or something different. And as in the last video, I have to point out, VSKYLABS say this is experimental. It's using the experimental physics or flight physics from X-Plane, and he is using that and recommends that it's turned on. And as I mentioned before, I've had to do a few things because of these shaky hands I've got, to add rates on and various other things, so that I could fly it in the way that I want to. So I decided to take it off to City Airport and go and visit the usual places as we do in London, and the scenery just looks great. Orbix, by the way, posted up another library, and I downloaded the library, and again, I'm never sure. I wish they published what they'd actually done, because things look different. Some of the textures I look at and I think, no, I'm certain that wasn't that way before, but maybe it was, maybe I've forgotten, I'm not sure. But whenever they publish a library, I do think there seems to be updates to other scenery at the same time, and maybe they would come on and post somewhere and tell us if that is true or not. But flying this little Mini-500 in London, I mean, what a buzz. I doubt if anyone ever has or would be allowed to, but flying around the Millennium Dome here, or the O2 Dome, you know, it's like a James Bond set. I did a video before where I said I thought it was more like a James Bond set, but you know, this little helicopter, you could imagine a James Bond scene. It would normally have been done in the MD 500, something slightly larger, but what a helicopter to do this in. It would sort of take you back to the James Bond Little Nelly, the Autogyro. And I just keep thinking of this thing with guns and other things on it, you know, and a chase scene going through London. It would be fantastic. And the helicopter itself is, I'm still finding it very, very odd. I can set it up when I'm at Shoreham and I get absolutely brilliant hover. As soon as I get into fast forward flight, the trim differences are enormous. I have to, because I've got an old hot ass joystick, it's at least, I think, 5 or 6 clicks left, and then I can sort of fly it at quite fast speed. And it really seems to like flying at, when I say zero climb or zero altitude, if you can get forward speed going at zero altitude, low down, a bit low here, I'm dropping down for the, yes, you can believe it, it's a bridge, so you have to fly through it. That's the only reason bridges are put there, I'm sure. So you'll have to bear with us on that one. But if you can fly this at fast speed and maintain about zero, is it altitude or zero climb, apply enough trim on the left hand side, it flies brilliantly. But when I then slow down and come back to the hover, I still have this problem of getting it to settle back into a settled position to sit there, and it's about 5 or 6 clicks the other way for me to do that. Now maybe if I had one of these really good Puma setups or something like that and a longer joystick that wasn't sprung loaded, I could hold that trim on. Or I know in DCS when I used to fly it, I could actually preset a button that would hold a trim on and it would hold that position. Actually, maybe you can on this, I'm not sure. But this helicopter is a bundle of fun, and I just wanted to do a video of it in the city rather than flying through the trees, which I enjoy, and look at some of the landmarks, St Paul's. We go off, have a look at the Houses of Parliament, obviously the Wheel, and then maybe go down, have a look at Buckingham Palace, and go down the Mall, as it were. And well, at the end of the Mall, it's not quite a bridge, is it? But there's something with a very narrow opening, so I'm going to give it a go and go for flying down the Mall, flying through. It's not the cenotaph, I can't remember the actual name of it, but it's at the bottom of the Mall. It's got about 3 openings. Everyone will know what it really is. Forgive my knowledge of London. And give it a go. And we give it a go. Instead of flying through the bridge, we're going to go through that and see what it goes, see if it can be done. I often say this X-plane for me is relaxation, enjoyment. It's frustrating sometimes. I've had 3 or 4 crashes. It's driven me mad today, but you can take it seriously. You can fly airliners, you can do navigation, you can do whatever you want, and then every now and again just treat yourself to something like this, because VSKYLABS have done a great job, and just do all the things that you shouldn't do, because it's a bundle of fun. Now, it's a real shame with X-plane in some respect that, you know, if you hit a tree, it doesn't affect the helicopter, and thank Christ, because I know I'm going to hit a number of trees when I give it a go. But look at this, I've set the lighting a little bit lower, Houses of Parliament, Big Ben, coming round. It just looks fantastic. And it is the sort of place you could see somebody like, sorry keep going on about James Bond, but you know, this is what he could have. He could jump into one of these instead of an Aston Martin and have a go in, or certainly have a chase that would be fantastic, because the other helicopter which I always loved as well is the Mini-500, the bigger version. Basically this is it in miniature, and it would be fantastic to see somebody put this through its paces. Once or twice when flying this, too much collective, you'll hear the buzzers go off, you'll hear it stall. Do you know what, I don't even take any notice of it. I'm just flying it for fun and I'm enjoying it. And so pick your favourite place, take it there. If it's a forest, Goodwood is a good place, Shoreham's a good place. London is, apart from the fact the streets are a bit narrow and it is a bit touchy, but you know, fly it down the Thames, enjoy it. It really is a wonderful piece of work. And as X-plane improve, no doubt, their experimental physics, VSKYLABS will be updating their version of this as they go along, so you've got to keep an eye on it. So give it a go. I think it's worth it, just for the fun of flying it now and again and just letting leash the animal within, as it were. So we fly down here, we drop down, head off towards Buckingham Palace. I'm sure Buckingham Palace is at the end here, if I remember rightly. I think we have the bob up at the end. Yep, right, okay, so my knowledge of London is improving with X-Plane as I fly more and more helicopters around here. And jump into this outside view. It's a little bit touchy the way I'm flying it. Don't be put off. Right, we're now down on the Mall. Who wouldn't do it? We're going to go head down, full bore. Did it go through? Let's have a look in slow motion. Do you know what? It's angled over. Maybe the rotors are too wide, I'm not sure. But it was pretty damn close, whatever it was. So, bit of fun. VSKYLABS, well done. Great helicopter. Enjoy it no end. And just like to say thank you for listening, and as usual, press the subscribe button. I'm after 100 now, let's go for it. And thanks for watching.